I'm the founder and co-owner of the first and leading podcast booking agency, Interview Connections, and I'm also the mom to a 4 and a 7-year-old, and I live in Rhode Island. My dad helped me start my business. He was my first business coach, so I definitely connect with other father-daughter teams. My dad referred my first client. So my dad was really helpful in this process. So my dad was my first client, then he referred my second couple of clients. But then from there, I started reaching out and building relationships with the podcast hosts that I was pitching, that I was reaching out to. I mean, one of the things that I love about podcasting is that it is an audio, because it's audio only, it is a much more intimate setting because people only have the audio. So there's not like when you're watching someone on video or like checking out what's behind them, like how's that, like you're taking in, it's like a multi-sensory experience. You're taking in the whole experience. With podcasting, you're only hearing their voice. So you're not like thinking about what they look like. You're just hearing what they're saying. So, and it also has people stick with you for 30 minutes.
Sounds correct.
My name is Abhi Arya, father of 2 girls, 6 dogs, husband to a superwoman, a streetcar racer turned hotelier, now social media marketer, and founder of Internet Moguls. If it was up to you, Jessica, and you had to meet somebody on a podcast, how would you introduce yourself? What would be Jessica Rhodes' hero introduction?
Yeah, I'm the founder and co-owner of the first and leading podcast booking agency, Interview Connections, and I'm also the mom to a 4 and a 7-year-old, and I live in Rhode Island.
Before we get started, I'd love to, if you can share your story on why podcast guesting, what you're doing is something so unique. And I don't think by the time people start doing it next year, many people will open up, you'll be far ahead of the curve. How did this idea come about? It's part of personal branding, all of that. Tell us a little bit about the backstory and how you started this business.
Yeah, well, you guys will love the backstory because it is, I started my business and I became an entrepreneur when I became a mom, when I had my first baby, who is now 7 years old. And my dad helped me start my business. He goes, I love that you want to be home with your, with your kids, with your baby. You can be a virtual assistant. And so I started as a virtual assistant working in my dad's business, booking him on podcasts. So I was doing some different tasks for him, supporting. I literally was like checking links on his website and, support, like doing client support stuff. I started doing sales calls for him as well. And I was booking him for interviews on podcasts. And that was really what kind of opened my eyes to something that was really enjoyable. I have a background in door-to-door sales. So being like reaching out and making requests and sending out pitches came really naturally to me. And I really enjoyed it. And at the time, back in 2013, nobody was doing this. People were podcasting, but there wasn't a whole podcast interview industry. Sure. So I started Interview Connections, and for about a year and a half, there was no competition, and we just grew like wildfire, and we continue to grow. And now it's become this whole industry because people love that they can speak and get in front of new audiences. I think you said we have like 40 something live here. I mean, there's people watching this and I haven't left my home, so you can be speaking and getting exposure, building your thought leadership and your brand without leaving your house. And so I just love that this strategy allows people to make connections, build relationships, and still be with their families at home.
That is so powerful because that's the message that Raya and I give to the world, that let's grow a business. Let's not compromise on the business that we can do, but at the same time, let's not sort of compromise the time that you spend with your family. If you can, few years back, something like this was impossible. The internet makes it possible, and the kind of business on innovation that people like you come up with makes it possible. Okay, so it was your dad's business. You started helping him. You said, I can help other entrepreneurs. So how did you make the jump? How did you get your first client?
Yeah. So my dad referred my first client. So my dad was really helpful in this process. So my dad was my first client. Then he referred my second couple of clients. But then from there, I started reaching out and building relationships with the podcast hosts that I was pitching, that I was reaching out to. And so my first client actually came from a referral by John Lee Dumas. So I had been out booking interviews and, getting my name out there. And John Lee Dumas he's the host of Entrepreneurs on Fire, which is a big business podcast a lot of people know about. And so he wrote an article. He was launching Podcasters Paradise, and he wrote an article about doing podcasts. And he mentioned Interview Connections can book your podcast guests. And Nathaniel Boyle, you never forget your first client, Nathaniel Boyle, clicked that link, signed up with the service. And I was like, what, And so it was really through the relationships. I had booked people on John's show, and I booked John on one of my client shows. So we had that as how like John got to know me and then like would refer people to me over the years. So it was really through that mention. So it's really powerful, like getting interviewed and then also being mentioned in articles, which happens. I've been interviewed on a podcast and then someone listens and then mentions a quote I said in a podcast. So it's like getting out there and speaking is how people find out about you.
Lovely. Raya, you have a question now?
Yeah, so my first question is, people are always trying to grow their personal brands on YouTube, Instagram. What made you go with podcasting? What sticks out and is different about podcasting? And what are your tips to start a podcast and to grow it successfully?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I love about podcasting is that it is because it's audio only, it is a much more intimate setting because people only have the audio. So there's not like when you're watching someone on video or like checking out what's behind them, like you're taking in, it's like a multi-sensory experience. You're taking in the whole experience. With podcasting, you're only hearing their voice. So you're not like thinking about what they look like. You're just hearing what they're saying. So, and it also has people sit with you for 30 minutes, sometimes longer. Sometimes interviews are up to an hour. So people can spend time with you for a long time. Like that's a long time for someone to hear about you at first. And so for starting a podcast, you really, want to get clear on why you're doing it. I think with anything, like especially writing a book and putting together, anything, you want to know why you're doing it. So really get clear on what the purpose of the show is. What is the value that your show is going to bring to the market that no other shows are bringing? Like what's your unique story and flair that you're going to bring. And then looking at like what types of guests you want to have on, coming up with a name that's going to be consistent with your brand, and then having a plan that has you putting out episodes consistently. There's you definitely want to have a launch strategy, but the most successful podcasts are the ones that don't stop. They don't judge their success based off the launch. They keep it going, putting out new episodes every single week, and really focusing on the content, because you definitely want to be marketing it, but the best marketing can't make up for a show that's not compelling. So you really want to put a lot of effort into the content that you're creating.
Got it. So when you say make it compelling, many of us human beings are so many times plagued with our own insecurities. I am not good enough, and therefore I am not feeling good today. I'm feeling anxious, scared, worried. And so I'm not in the same energy, so I can't be consistent. There's another way of podcasting where people say, let me get on a guest so that I can interview it. A, it gives you branding by association, and B, the onus is on the other person to give the answers. And so what are the various forms of podcasting that you would advise to all the viewers watching when they want to start and they're not feeling very confident? What are the options?
Yeah. So, absolutely. When you do an interview-based podcast, it is much easier because you don't have to script out 30 minutes of monologue to be sharing and speaking. So having interviews is really, really helpful. When I first started to help my confidence, I interviewed a friend of mine. So I found a friend that obviously is like an entrepreneur and has relevant content, but someone that you feel comfortable with, because it does take time to build up that confidence and build up that muscle of being a good podcaster. Because first time you speak into a microphone, it feels awkward. You listen back, you're like, is that what I sound like? It takes time for people to get used to it. So the more practice you get, the better. So that's like number one. But doing interviews is great because it really is just having a conversation. I think it takes even more skill to do a solo show well than it does to do an interview show. Because with an interview show, it's really just having a conversation around topics and with guests that you find interesting.
Another format that I have found working very effectively is if I just start telling a story of what happened day before yesterday or at work and correlating it with so a storytelling format allows me to narrate a real life incident, and it also gets the audience engaged. What do you think about storytelling as a podcast format?
Yeah, I mean, stories. My client Oscar Trimboli said this on my show. He says stories connect hearts, stats connect heads. So you want to really balance your interviews and your show when you're speaking and when you're creating content. Yes, you want to give the stats, the facts, you want to give tactical, actionable tips, but stories, that is what will connect people's hearts, and that's going to get people to really connect with you emotionally. So really sharing stories, I 100% agree. I think that is the way to go, is like leading your podcast with as much story as possible, because at the end of the day, people listen to podcasts not just to be educated, but to be entertained, and to really enjoy the experience.
Lovely, lovely. Right, over to you.
Okay. So my next question is, for all the teenagers watching this, I recently started a vlog on Instagram, and I'm going to start going on to YouTube. But it's all about self-love, because I've dealt with bullying and all that myself, and so I kind of spread that within teenagers. So for all teenagers watching this, what is your advice, or even the adult watching this right now? What is your advice towards them when they're constantly comparing themselves, and like my dad says, they want to try something but they feel they're never going to be good enough? What is your advice?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm very passionate about this. I mentor a teenager here locally. So, and we talk about this a lot, and it really and it's easier said than done, and it gets easier the older you get. But really not comparing yourself is the key. That is the biggest pitfall in life. And I share that with my employees and everything. Like, when you compare yourself to other people, you're never going to feel like you live up, because you're comparing yourself to their highlight reel and what you think, but we can't see into people's heads. So I think that's always important, is to remember that, like, everyone feels insecure and everyone is afraid and everyone feels like they're not good enough. So like remembering that you're not alone in that is super important. And just to give you kind of like actionable piece of advice, I would definitely like unfollow anyone that you're following that like triggers that feeling of insecurity. As an entrepreneur, I don't follow my competitors, because like, if I see their posts, I just like get annoyed, or I'm like, you get that kind of like negative feeling. So I just unfollow, and not like in a negative way. Like, I don't like them, because everyone's doing their best. But like, if it's triggering a feeling of negativity in me, I need to filter that out. So really, like, if you see someone's post and every time you see it, you're kind of like, ugh, unfollow. Like, really put up those blinders so you protect your own mindset, because that's, anything that you're taking in. We talked about this on a meeting this morning. What you focus on grows. So if you're focusing on and looking at things that are bringing you down, you're just going to keep going down. So like really focusing on following things that like lift you up and make you feel good will lift you up and make you feel good. Like, what you focus on will get bigger.
Lovely.
Awesome.
So we have a question from one of the audience members here, Neeta Budhraja. I want to know how podcasting can help my calligraphy business and how I can use it to share my knowledge with my followers.
Oh, that's a great question. So, I mean, I would definitely start a podcast. And as you said, like calligraphy, like draw. Oh, amazing. I think that is a great opportunity to start a podcast where you are giving quick tips. I don't know exactly what the business is like, if she's selling, prints or something like that. But really niche businesses like that, that's a great opportunity to start your own podcast where you put out like 10-minute episodes, like quick tips where you share your story, you share tips, not knowing a lot about the business and who your audience is, but start a podcast where you're just putting out short episodes and quick tips to just build a following and to connect with your followers.
Lovely. Now tell us a little bit about your service, your service and how it helps people.
Yeah, so we are the premier booking agency for podcasts. So my clients are entrepreneurs that are 6, 7, and 8 figures. We work with service-based entrepreneurs, so marketers and coaches and consultants and investors. And we book them on podcasts that are in their target market, that are going to be great networking experience for them. Because a lot of times when you're interviewed on a show, like I was interviewed on a podcast this afternoon, and the host at the end of the interview is like, I'm going to schedule a consult with you. I want to, work with you. So it's a networking opportunity as well. So our service finds and books our clients for interviews on shows that are in their target market.
Lovely. You definitely have been on many podcasts and interviews because you have the most crisp answer to every question. It's just, and you know when to pause to let the interviewer ask the next question. This is making it so easy.
I'm so glad.
Veteran at this. Thank you. So when it comes to any industry, like people are asking, Aditya Joshi is asking, can I do it for my animation business? Somebody saying real estate. So you're saying basically that this is a personal branding exercise, but it helps in two formats. A, the person who's interviewing you is an established entrepreneur as well. And you may not have gotten 1 hour of his time on a podcast. So you're networking with 40, 50 people a year, even if you're doing one podcast a week. And also his or her listeners are getting to know who you are. So you're basically building your brand. Now, having said that, does it mean that I teach people how to find your micro niche? Find out who you are, find out where your audience is, focus on them, serve them. Don't just try to serve the whole world. So when it comes to a podcast, once you've decided what you're going to talk about, once you've decided either it's going to be my story or it's going to be an interview format, or I'm going to tell, or I'm going to give a how-to system, that how to do calligraphy or how to become a podcaster. So I've chosen my niche. I've chosen my format of the video, of the podcast. Now, when it comes to doing those podcasts regularly, should I be worried that the podcast that I'm on will maybe only feature me to 100 people? Or should I just go directly to John Lee Dumas and say, I want 3 million people to be, how do you start a journey like this of getting known?
So with our clients, we focus on, and this is the strategy I teach to everyone, is mid-range shows are really great. So those are shows that have 20 or more episodes. So they're not brand new. A lot of podcasts will quit before they hit 20 episodes because it's a lot of work. So if you're really investing in this as a marketing strategy, I would go for shows that have published at least 20 episodes. And that kind of puts them, and mid-range shows have anywhere from a few hundred downloads per episode to a few thousand. So if a show has 136 downloads in an episode after a month after it launches, it's in the top 50%, the top 50% of podcasts on iTunes. So podcasts, I'm sorry?
Is that the new and noteworthy section?
Nope, that is just all podcasts. So this stat is from Libsyn, which is the biggest media host for podcasts. So they're the biggest media host. So this shows on Libsyn because they have the most podcasts. It's pretty safe to say it's most of Apple as well. So if a show has about 150 downloads per episode, it's in the top 50%. And once you get up to the top 20%, it has about 3,000 downloads per episode. So these are pretty actually small audiences. But as long as they're in the right target market, it's going to be a good experience because, especially I know someone has an animation or animation, and I forget what the one, calligraphy. We'll go with calligraphy. If you're on a show that is targeting everyone who's interested in calligraphy and it has 50 downloads, it's a small audience, but if it's 50 people that are perfect for you, then that is a good place to go. The larger the show, it tends to be, there's people from a variety, like John Lee Dumas' show, for example. I mean, he's probably tens of thousands of listeners across many different industries, many different income levels. So it is a big audience, but it's a smaller percentage of the audience is going to be a good fit. So you want to go for shows that have a high percentage of listeners who are your ideal client.
Got it. So can you tell us a little bit about the tools which are commonly heard of, but people don't know? Like you said, Libsyn, there is Anchor. What are these? What are these publishing platforms? What are these tools?
Oh, yeah. There's so many. And so I definitely know that it can get overwhelming. There's there's media hosts, which is if you're going to have your own show, you need a host that basically hosts your MP3 file online and puts it out to all the players. So I use Libsyn, Libsyn. It's short for Liberated Syndication, Libsyn.com. They're the biggest and been around the longest, but there's lots of new ones coming out. So you can choose which one you prefer. I use Libsyn, so that's what I recommend. And then once you upload your show to Libsyn, you can have Libsyn send it out to all the different players. Apple, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeart, YouTube. So there's lots of different players. So as long as you have your RSS feed and you have your media host, that will send it out. So you don't need to sign up for out like all the different podcast players, because they'll pick up your RSS feed from your media host.
Got it. Got it. And when it comes to starting a podcast, obviously sound is everything, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that it's easy to set up a podcast recording studio at home, or do you need to go to an expert and buy all the gadgets? What's a beginner's guide to starting a podcast?
Oh my gosh, the beginner's guide is $60 with this microphone. That's really all you need. You don't want to spend, like, you do not need to spend a lot of money. Now, if you're a sound geek and you just love this stuff, like, go for it, live your best life, like get all the microphones you want. You don't need to get all, like, you don't need a mixer. The thing is, with something like a mixer or all the stuff, it does make it sound better. The vast majority of listeners do not have a trained ear to hear the difference of this to my $400 microphone, which I don't even use because it's in quarantine. So, get something like a simple USB microphone. It plugs right into your computer. You can record, if you're on a Mac, just record into QuickTime or GarageBand. And I know there's some podcast experts that are going to be like cringing at this because they're like, no, you need to be doing Adobe and blah, blah, blah. But I'm talking about, like, for the beginner that just wants to get their content out there, keep it simple.
Got it. Raya, you have a question?
Yeah. So, personally, when I'm still in school and then I have to sometimes go to social media conferences and then I'm trying to push out my own content. So, even just living in everyday society, I get a lot of anxiety. So, you push out a lot of content. I know you're an entrepreneur, which gets overwhelming as well. So what are some of your key daily rituals that you've implemented throughout the years, which have mainly helped you in your success?
Oh, it's such a good question. I love being interviewed by a kid. This is amazing. Like, you asked great question. So, okay. So some daily rituals. So what I'm doing, like, specifically right now, with all of us being in lockdown and in quarantine, we're really being put to the test of, like, our mindset, right?
Yep.
So I meditate every morning and I exercise every morning. And doing that, like, I wake up at 5:30. So I have an hour to myself. If my kids are sleeping, my husband is sleeping, and I get up, I roll out of bed, it's still dark, and I'm like, I don't want to be getting up right now. But I do my exercise and I do my meditation. I download the app called Insight Timer, which is great. There's lots of meditation apps. This one is amazing. It has like tens of thousands of meditations. And I do my exercise and I do my meditation, and that really, like, sets things off in a really good way. And then if I'm ever, like, feeling down, like, I'll just 5-minute do a meditation, and it just really, practicing that mindfulness has helped so much because, like, it's scientifically proven, like, it does build up the neural pathways. I don't know how it works, but it really works. So I'm a big proponent of that because I've just, like, over the past couple of weeks of doing that every day, I've really, like, noticed a difference with being able to feel more positive and, like, acknowledge when things are hard, but also have the ability to, kind of sharpen my thinking to be like, okay, let's just get present to what's happening right now.
Right.
And meditation, like, really helps you kind of get out of your head and into, like, the moment.
Perfect.
Awesome.
So guys, there are about 44 people here. Vaibhav is here. Hi, Vaibhav. Hi, Seema Nanda, Satyendra. Guys, any of you have any questions directly for Jessica? Please, Dr. Mitinder Yadav is here. Any of you have any podcasting questions, please put it in the comments, and we'll try to get as many questions in as we can. Okay, so personal branding, we talk about micro videos. I tell people, you put out your videos out there and, be the face of your brand. Let people know, like, trust you before you want them to buy from you and all of that. And then one part of my program is shyness to awesomeness. We help people go from being shy to being awesome and, sort of share their message with the world. But I still get hundreds of emails every month saying that, I bought your program, I'm going through the course, and we have a Saturday weekly program training where I come. I won't be able to come for the training because and when I ask them why, 60% of the people are like, I still don't want to make videos. So I said, that's okay. Let's put a caricature of your face or a cartoon, whatever you want. And how about talking on the phone and making your voice becoming your brand? So, your voice becoming your brand is becoming the new thing, podcasting and all of that. So how are the various podcasts monetized? I know there's podcast AdSense, and then podcast, you can bring in a person to say, somebody wants to sell a jacket on your show. If it's the right fit, call the person, he talks about his jacket, and then he gives you an affiliate commission. Can you talk about a few monetizing techniques from podcasts?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple different ways that you can monetize. So number one, like as a business owner, I would definitely look at how you can use your podcast to promote your own products and services instead of having an advertiser where you're promoting theirs. Because I like on my show, and I most likely, I could get a sponsor if I wanted to, because I have a very niche audience. I'm very specific. I know exactly who my listeners are. I would rather keep my listeners focused on what I sell than going off to buy something else. So number one, as a business owner, I would recommend having your podcast be monetized through your own, as a marketing channel for your own business. And so really what that looks like is coming down to providing really relevant content, like getting really in tune to what your customers and clients need to learn about in order to be ready to buy from you, and keep your content focused there and then drive them back to you. I like to promote consult calls on my podcast every so often, and that's worked really well. Now, if you do want to have an advertiser, you need to know, you need to be very clear on who your listeners are. So getting in touch with your listeners, knowing what your downloads look like, and finding a company that has a product or service that is perfect for your target audience.
Right.
So I had a show called The Podcast Producers that I co-hosted. We did 2 seasons, and Podcast Movement, which is a podcasting conference, sponsored one of our seasons. And so the way that worked out is I just reached out to them, and, we already had an existing relationship. And I told them what our downloads look like. I told them what the launch plan is, like how we'll be promoting the show and we'll be putting it out, who our guests are. And they sponsored it. And we just had agreed on like a flat rate amount. It wasn't per download or anything like that. Because doing the math, they could see that, if we sold 1 ticket, it would be like we would get our return on investment. So it's kind of important to look at how you're pricing your ads based off of what the value is for that advertiser. So and then you can also do affiliates too. Yeah.
So all this happens only when you have a niche targeted community of how many before I can reach out to start making money?
Oh, I mean, I have clients who have gotten sponsors before they even launched. So my client, she's my former client, but Luann Nigera, she has a podcast called A Well-Designed Business. It is a podcast. It's a business podcast for interior designers. And she's been a business owner for 30 years. She has a local company that, sells like curtains, I think. And so she already is well known in her industry. So she had a company in her industry become a sponsor before she even launched, because they already knew her. They were like, if Luann's behind this, it's going to be good. So they became a sponsor of hers before she even launched. So really look at businesses that you have a relationship with, that they know, if you're going to do this show, I know that, because like for me, it's not really about how many downloads I have, but I have trust with people who know me. So if I say, go buy this microphone, like they'll go buy it because they know me. And so that's what like an advertiser is going to look for, is like, they need to see that your listeners would actually buy what you tell them to buy.
Got it. You made a very interesting point about booking online consultation calls through your podcast. Many of the listeners over here and everybody in general, the biggest thing is I am amazing at what I do, but a lot of people don't know about it. If only they would get on a 30-minute call with me, I could show them my brilliance. So can you run us through a process of how you use podcasting to book calls?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. So number one, with booking calls, you really want to position the value of the call. So, it is a sales consultation, right? Like if it's a good fit, you will invite the person to work with you. So what I do, how I invite people to schedule a consult call on my podcast is, for example, if I did an episode about how to write your interview topics and questions for your podcast interviews. And then at the end of the call, I said, if you need help with this and you want to to ask me some questions about your topics and questions, schedule a call with me. And so I gave the link to schedule a consult. And then on that call, I answered their questions and I went through it. And then like, what other questions do you have for me? And inevitably they always say, so how do you work? Like,
Right.
How can I work with you? And that's where you invite them to, this is how you can work with me. But you want to show that this call is going to bring them value, whether or not they sign up with you. Getting on the phone with you is going to provide value, because as what I hear you saying, people know that once they can talk to their ideal client, they know it will be great. So getting them on that call is all about showing the value of having a conversation with you.
Right. So do you personalize that call? Would you research the person's business before you get on that call and have some material ready, or would that happen after the call?
Yep, I do. Really what I do is I look at their website. In my scheduling form, so I use Schedule Once. And so I have some booking forms filled out so I get some information. So in that I ask, what are your goals for podcast guesting? How soon are you looking to get started? Who referred you? So I get some preliminary information that I can then tie back to. With this one in particular, with the person who scheduled from the podcast, she emailed me, hey, I scheduled a consult call. I want you to review my one sheet before our call. And so if they send you that information, you can kind of go through it before the call.
Got it. So qualify your customer.
Yeah.
Because none of us want to waste time. Understood.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So my last question actually is, our definition of an internet mogul is someone who can spend time with their family, but also take on the internet and leverage their business through the internet. So what is your definition of an internet mogul?
Oh, that's a great question. So I guess my definition of an internet mogul is somebody that is doing business online. They're doing business on the internet, and they're doing it in an innovative way. Like their business is unique, and they're innovating in their industry.
Got it. We have a question from Divyanshu Malik. Divyanshu is a young 19-year-old kid. He used to work with me a couple of months back. Very inspiring story. He's a kidney patient, and he has to go for dialysis twice a week. And the rest of the days, he used to come to work with us. And he was also building his personal brand and his TikTok channel. So huge shout out to Divyanshu Malik over here. Divyanshu says, some tips and ideas for me if I want to start my podcast for inspiring millions who are out there like me, being a kidney patient. I have a never give up attitude and leading life with a positive mindset. I never lose hope, and I accept the situation and move on. How can I start?
Oh, I love that. So the thought that just kind of came to my mind was really using a podcast for you as a way to share your journey. Because it sounds like he is really in the middle of going through something amazing. Look at a podcast as your opportunity to share what's happening, almost like a diary, an audio journal.
Right.
My client, Jay Massey, has a podcast called Cashflow Diary. And when he started it, he just thought, this is going to be my diary. It's your legacy. Your podcast can be your legacy. It's something that in 20 years, it is going to be online for your kids to listen to, for you to listen to, and hear in the moment what you're going through and what the lessons are you're learning. So I think it sounds like there's some amazing lessons he's learning and through this experience. So each episode can be a story of something that happened recently and what he learned from it. I mean, that would be incredibly moving, I think. And what a great thing to listen back to far into the future.
That is a beautiful idea. So documenting your everyday journey and putting it in an audio journal. I love that. Seema, I would love to feature a question from you. If you have a question, please bring it on. Great process of online consulting was a great input. Thanks, says Seema. Seema, Silky Rohila is here. Silky, Seema, any of you have any questions for Jessica on how you can start your podcast in the HR industry or any other industry, feel free to bring it on. Okay. So Jessica, you and I have been talking for a while, and we've connected on calls. I see that you bring your community together. Every week you send us all invites to say we're talking about a specific topic and all of that. How do podcasters like you collaborate with other podcasters? Do you go on each other's show and cross promote and all of that? And the second part of the question is, how do you build a community of want to be podcasters?
Oh boy. Well, so really we have what you're talking about. So we have a Facebook group, and that has been a really big game changer for us because as entrepreneurs, we're often out there doing, running our business and working with our clients. And having a place to bring people together has been amazing. And it's been a place that we can really provide value and connect with other people. So, yeah, I do. I brought on my interview today that went live on my podcast with Peter Winnick. I was on his show. And then 2 days later, I interviewed him on my show. And it was just amazing because it's a way that we can serve and promote each other and get to know each other, because when one person interviews you, you know them, they know you really well, but then you don't know them as well because they interviewed you. So going on each other's shows is really, really a great thing to do. Yeah, I think
even for the new people who are starting and listening right now, they could be like, I don't have anybody. I don't know. I'm feeling lost. So maybe just start. Like the other day, I was thinking I need to interview my mom and dad because they've got so much to share. And maybe in an interview setting, use a thing like Squadcast and bring them on, put them on the spot and say, why did you do this to me when I was a child? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So that's great because I remember as a new business owner, and I didn't know anyone. I was a new mom. I was at home. My previous job was going door to door. So I wasn't connected with anyone online. And so I totally understand where you are at. If you are that person who's like, I don't know anyone. So, just start with one person. Think about who do you want to connect with? What kind of person you want to connect with? Find them on Twitter, find them on Instagram, send them a DM. Hey, I would love to interview on my podcast. And then when you interview them, maybe they say no. You got to ask a lot of people, do your research. And then once you interview that one person, who can you introduce me to? Ask that person to introduce you to somebody else. And then before you know it, your network starts growing. This is an amazing time to be online because with Facebook groups, people are so friendly. So I would look up Facebook groups. Before you know it, Facebook will start suggesting groups for you to join and just get active, be posting and commenting and engaging. And before you know it, I mean, within a month, your world will look totally different.
I know it is so true. It is so powerful what you said. Your world actually starts looking so different because you have the possibility of collaborating with human beings from different parts of the world and just using maybe your smartphone or just that $60 mic and start an absolutely new journey. How about doing a podcast of like 3-4 people coming together and saying, let's make a show. Let's make a friends happen on this thing. And we're just chatting and talking about nonsense or whatever comes to our mind, but in between also making sure that we're giving value to our client. How would that kind of a show be?
I mean, I love that. That is like a roundtable style podcast.
Right.
So I absolutely love that. I mean, I think that, if you are doing this as a business and you want to think about like, what's the connection back to your business, but hey, if you're watching this and like, you're building up your TikTok and your vlog, like this is all about having fun. Like I envy you. Like all you need to do is figure out a show that's going to be fun to produce. Cause if it's fun to produce, if it's fun to do, it'll be fun for listeners. And so really focusing on that, I think that's a great idea. There's some really great roundtable style podcasts.
Lovely. Raya, you have something else? We have lots of questions from the audiences here.
Cool.
How do you bring, if I have a relatively new podcast, says Atharva Vishwakarma, how do I get people to listen to my podcast? I mean, is there like Facebook ads or how do I get people to a podcast?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So getting people to listen to your podcast that is the $1 million question, right? How do you build your podcast audience? And again, like this kind of goes back to the question.
She set it up for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it really like it's one step at a time. It's sort of like that. It's like, when you have a big goal to achieve, like you just need to break it down into small steps. So I would write out like, what is your marketing plan? So posting it, like, what are the social media platforms that you're going to leverage? Where is your target audience? And making sure that like, if you're posting on Instagram and Facebook, you're getting your podcast out there every single day. Like you are posting about it. If you have guests, it's like making it easy for them to share. And then once you start to learn about who your listeners are, sending, like literally our team sends direct messages to the people in our Facebook group and says, hey, we've got a new episode, like sending it to people directly. There's no kind of like quick and easy approach. It just takes time and you want to get out there in every way possible and just be consistent with your promotion.
And to be consistent, you just need to be having fun, because when you're having fun, you're not thinking about the time, and then time flies past anyways. And with that time, you've had a couple of episodes. And like you said, you don't need a lot of episodes or millions of listeners to be able to start making it into a full-fledged business.
Yeah.
So podcasting as a business alone versus podcasting to support an existing business. It can work in both capacities, right?
Yes, it can work in both capacities. A very small percentage of podcasts are a business in and of themselves. Usually it's a podcast that supports a business, but if your podcast is the business, I mean, that's like a media business, right? It's just a lot harder to make money with the podcast as the only product. I know some people that do that, and it's difficult,
Right.
but it's definitely possible.
Got it. So you said reach out to people on Instagram, DM, tell them that this is what I'm doing. I'd love to have you on your show. A lot of people will say no, but there are still enough people to say yes. If not, then reach out to your friends, family, say, I want to interview you. At least you get started, the momentum starts building. If not, just reach out to different communities on Facebook. You'll find interesting people say, hey, I'm starting a podcast on family or digital marketing, or like we're doing Internet Moguls of the World, a family digital marketing school, because that is our mission between me and my daughters, that we want to build an online school of digital marketing where parents will come with their children and everybody together will learn digital marketing. Maybe the child takes podcasting and takes a journey of her own, and the father says YouTube, the mother says something, and everybody leverages digital to eventually make money and do that. Because today's world, we all know, fortunately, unfortunately, circumstances of the world have changed, and we all know that we're going to be getting out of this lockdown and getting into a very different world. But the one thing that has become more apparent to everybody on this planet is that digital is something that is a skill once learned. The only thing that you need after that is discipline to be consistent, and you can build multiple streams of revenue around it to be able to support your family while staying in any part of the world using just your smartphone or your laptop. So that is the theme of what you started with when you did it with your dad and everything else, to stay close to your family and your kids. And that's the theme that Raya, I, and Aviana are following. It's like I said, it's 1:15 a.m. Raya and I, she leaves school whenever she has to for these kind of things, or this is more priority for us, because the idea is to build a business and also inspire families. We've been doing this for 8 months now, trying to build this school, and hopefully before the end of this year, we'll launch the podcast and the school and everything, with all the guest interviews and all of that happening. Build a school which the whole world can say, my entire family goes to that school. That's what we're building. So tell us a little bit about people who are watching who have children, and say 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. Everybody's going through something and have a different journey. Kids can do podcasts. Kids are doing podcasts as well, right? So give us a few. Yeah. I'm sure you know a few kids, and your suggestions for people to get their families into this.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's one podcast. It's called the Alien Adventures of Finn Caspian, and it's an amazing podcast for kids.
Finn Caspian, nice.
Yes, and it is awesome. My kids used to listen to it when they were a little younger, and it's this it's his dad and his kid, and he listens to my podcast. That's how I know about it, and it's just amazing, and it's really well produced. I mean, he's won some awards for it because he does all these little voices, and it's like this, like the character Finn Caspian is like in outer space. Like it's really, really cool, but he does it with his son, and it's just a cool experience. So I think that it's such a great way to do something with your kids. And I mean, I know, like, as a mom, being able to like look at videos from 3 years ago and hear my kid's voice, and I'm like, they've grown so much. I mean, what a cool thing to like be able to listen to what your kid's voice sounds like over time.
Beautiful.
And